May 2019. At this time, I'd like to invite you to join us in a silent moment of prayer, followed immediately by the oath of allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm required to state that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette in the express times and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Beth, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, members Clymer.
Here.
Coyle. Here. DeVos. Here. Pryor.
Here.
Weeks.
Here.
Mayor Mengucci.
Here.
Vice Chairman Fishback.
Here.
Chairman Van Vliet.
Here.
Alternate Steinhardt and alternate Lopatcong.
Here.
Okay, moving straight on to full business. Has everyone received a copy of the minutes to approve the minutes of the April 24th, 2019 meeting? Are there any questions, amendments, corrections, statements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes will stand as published. Okay, we're moving on now to Architects Golf Club, Block 95, Lot 21, completeness and hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Peck, how are you?
members of the board. For the record, my name is Mark Peck. I'm an attorney with the Florio Perucci, Steinhardt & Capelli Law Firm, here on behalf of the applicant, Lawrence Turco, otherwise Architects Golf Club. This application concerns property located at 700 Strikers Road, which is Lot 29 in Block 95. You know it as Architects Golf Club. It's an approximately 177-acre tract in your R3/2 zone district. Before I go any further, I understand we still have some unfinished business from last month. It was determined by this board that we did in fact need a C variance. We went ahead and noticed for that for a public hearing, but I guess we still need to be deemed complete. We did discuss a number of submission waivers last time. We did submit revised plans dated April 22nd of this year, and those were revised in accordance primarily with the engineer's review comments. So I ask you to deem this application complete and let us move forward to a hearing on the site plan and variance application.
Very good. We'll have a public comment later during the hearing.
About this matter.
Yes. Adam, do you have any comments?
Yes, I think prior to the last, or as the last hearing was beginning, I think we received those revised plans at the same time, and I looked at them at that time in preparation for deeming the application or discussing the completeness of the application, and I think everything was addressed at that time. I believe there was also a waiver request showing existing structures within 200 feet of the site, and we were supportive of that waiver request since this improvement's only proposed on a small area of a very large tract. So in general, we're supportive of deeming the application complete.
Okay. George, do you have any comments?
Not as it relates to completeness, no.
Okay.
They're fine.
Mr. Bright?
I have no comment.
Board have any questions?
Well, as I recall, it was Tom's motion actually deeming it complete, making that a condition. He's fulfilled the condition, so do we need a second motion, or?
Yeah, you have to deem it complete.
In the narrative.
Any further questions from the board? Yes, Ken.
Taxes? I understand they're still not paid.
I was advised that a check was mailed either Friday or Monday to satisfy the balance. I don't know if that was received
No, it has not been.
yet, but that's what I'm
I'm sorry,
advised.
Beth, no, yes or no?
No.
No. As I recall the discussion last month, Mr. Bryce can elaborate on this. We are protected by both the law, and we informally agreed to include a condition in any approval, and he would not get a CO until that is done.
That is correct.
And I believe, informally, that was the intent to follow that direction.
So we'll make that a condition of approval.
Yeah, the law is such that it's appropriate for a board to condition any approval upon the payment of taxes. It doesn't preclude the board from exercising its jurisdiction to hear the application with that condition understood. It's still the board's decision whether to do that or not and waive it for a submission purpose. That is the recommended practice in the land use treaties, because it will provide protection for the municipality, that ultimately the approval will only be good as the payment of the taxes prior to actually undertaking the construction.
I generally think it's good practice to follow the recommended practice as explained by council, so I would make a motion, we
Deeming it complete?
deem it complete.
I got a motion in a second. Here, a second.
I just had a question of Mr. Bryce, is you just said that before construction was undertaken, we could deem it complete without the taxes being paid, but from what I can see, construction's already taken place.
That is a separate issue.
We'll provide some testimony as to that.
I understand that there has been some on-site activity that necessarily hasn't been approved at this point in time. That is a bit outside of the board's jurisdiction at this point. The zoning officer has, I believe, he's also the construction code official, has issued a stop work order. There's the Construction Board of Appeals and the municipal courts that exercise that jurisdiction. If there's an appeal of that determination, it can come before the zoning board, but not this board. This board's jurisdiction is limited to the application before it. Certainly, the board notes that there has been some activity on site, but it's hopeful that the action of the board may ratify that action to try and clean that up. That's presuming what the board may or may not do. The taxes are a separate issue. The taxes are a condition of your completeness checklist. You have the ability to waive the taxes being paid as a submission waiver. It doesn't mean that you're waiving the payment of taxes. It just means that that's going to be a condition of approval before they can undertake any further work on the property or get a lawful permit to undertake that work, that they're going to have those taxes paid. And that's going to be at that stage of the process. The authorities suggest that it is appropriate for a board at this point in time to actually waive the submission requirement, understanding that it is within your discretion to do so, so that the board can actually move forward to hear the application on the merits.
Is that a standard, President? Is that a standard that we waiver our own set to go to the state? Is there a standard or a reasoning of something we would base that off of to waiver ours? Like, we can go higher than the state, but we're coming down to the state. Is there a waiver that we would allow that as a reason?
It's like any submission waiver. It's context dependent upon the application. But nonetheless, it is a submission. It is a submission requirement for all land use applications, but it's just like any type of requirement for submission. It can be waived for the submission only, but not ultimately for payment. It's only for deeming the application complete, so that the board can hear the application with the understanding that there will be a condition that any approval that comes from the board is going to be conditioned upon the payment of those taxes. The standard that the board is really generally held to is arbitrary and capricious. So there has to be a good reason or a large track record of non-payment or concerns of violations that are ongoing, that the board may ultimately say, well, we don't want to exercise jurisdiction to hear it because we've been down this road before, and the applicant has proven to be non-responsive to all of these other municipal concerns. I don't know if that's been
I agree with
established.
what you're saying, but I was trying to find a standard when we follow ours and when we follow states. That's where I was trying to get at.
Well, it is yours. It is your checklist requirement.
Wait a minute. Township's checklist requirement.
Okay.
So, I have a motion before the board. Do I hear a second?
Who made the motion?
You did.
I did.
And could you repeat your motion this way? What it is?
I may need help, some help from Jim. I move that we deem the application complete, subject to payment of all taxes and any approval that we may vote on will be conditioned upon payment of taxes, and the applicant will not receive a CO until taxes are paid, including any interest in accordance with law. How's that, sir?
Does that include the permit too, when they draw the permit? Or is that?
Is it it's all permits too, right?
Yes.
Also, any permits.
Okay. Understood. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Members Clymer? Coyle? Yes. DeVos? No. Pryor?
Yes.
Weeks?
No.
Mayor Mengucci?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fishback?
Yes.
Chairman Van Vliet?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So we'll move forward with the public hearing on the application.
Yes.
Again, on behalf of Architects Golf Club and Lawrence Turco, we're seeking minor site plan approval with C or bulk variance relief to install a modular 640 square foot, 32 by 20 pro shop. And again, the property, it's a 177 acre parcel located in your residential R3/2 zone district. The property is currently used as a golf club, which is a conditional use in the district. The proposed pro shop is an accessory use to the golf club. The board had previously determined that we need this variance from the provisions of section 243-66C2D because the proposed pro shop will be located 166.9 feet from the roadway, and clubhouse facilities are required to be set back 400 feet from the street. The zoning, I would note though that the zoning ordinance does permit golfing facilities, maintenance structures, and other structures to be located a minimum of 75 feet from the roadway. It's a very straightforward application. So as I acknowledged before, we did revise the plans. They were last revised April 22nd, 2019. Copies were provided to the board. You just see it's 640 square foot, located at the edge of the parking lot, almost 167 square feet from Strikers Road. It's tied in by a sidewalk to the parking lot and the clubhouse. Some pertinent zoning information for the R3/2 zone. That's the only variance that we will require is that setback variance. We're within the lot size. The minimum lot size for a golf course in the zone district is 150 acres. We exceed that at almost 177. The building height in this zone district is 35 feet or 2.5 stories. The proposed pro shop will be 9 feet tall. Parking spaces, 150 spaces are required for a golf course in this zone district. There were 200 spaces. With the installation of this pro shop, there'll still be 197, so we still have an excess of 47 spaces. With that in mind, I'd like to call my one and only witness, Lawrence Turco Jr., who a lot of this testimony will be redundant to what you heard last month, but since this is actually the public hearing, I figured we ought to put it on again. So, Mr. Turco?
Just raise your right hand. Yep. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and spell it.
It's Lawrence Turco, Lawrence, last name's Turco.
Thank you.
And Mr. Turco, are you affiliated with the Architects Golf Club?
Yes.
Okay, and in what capacity?
My father and my uncle are partners, and I've been running the facility for about 8 years.
Okay, and can you explain to the board why you need this modular pro shop?
Sure. So we did some renovations over the winter months to convert our existing pro shop to a bar and grill. because we were realizing that we were having some difficulty with hosting people for food and beverage that were golfing, and then having like an event at the same time. So we basically felt like this was a better use of the space. It was kind of large for a pro shop, kind of had a lot of wasted space in there. So we converted it to that, and the whole thought process was that we were gonna put this unit, out closer to the cart barn area, which would make more sense for running the business, because you're closer to the carts. And it's a lot smaller than what we originally had for the pro shop in the building.
And having these different uses in the clubhouse, so you have the main floor is primarily now like a catering
It's all pretty much food and beverage.
type thing, and then you have below where you had the pro shop that's now a bar and grill to serve the golfers.
So it was all on the first floor,
Okay.
yeah,
And then you're going to have the pro shop outside in this modular building.
correct.
Are all three of those elements really necessary to keep the golf course competitive in the market?
Yes, because I've been, running it out of the front vestibule for the past couple of months, and it's been kind of challenging, but, we've been making it work, because, we know we gotta do what we gotta do here with you guys to do the right thing. But having it in that area that's a lot closer to where all the staging is done, and when the guests are arriving, it kind of makes more sense too for the flow, and we're really I think it's gonna be a better flow for the golfers too when they come.
Okay, and what exactly will this pro shop be used for? So, some tees?
Yeah, so we would sell very little merchandise, balls, tees, gloves. Most of it is checking in of the players when they come to pay for their round of golf. I would say the average person is probably in there for 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. They're literally in, they check in, and they walk out the door. That's how it's always been when it was in the building. That's how I anticipate it to be at this new building. It's rather quick, the transaction.
And how many employees would be inside the building at any given time?
I would say at most 3 employees. That's like on like a busy Saturday.
Okay, and what hours would the pro shop be operated?
So during the peak of the season, it opens at 5 o'clock in the morning and it closes at 7 p.m. That's usually what our pro shop hours are,
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Is it a seasonal operation, or would this operate 365
So
days a
it's
year?
seasonal based upon the weather. So typically, yes, we shut down, when it's snow covered or extremely cold.
Okay. Yeah, no, I guess that's it, unless the board has any further
I
questions.
do. I have a question for Mr. Peck, and maybe you can help Mr. Turco out a little bit. You're going for flexible C, are you not?
We are.
And one of the things you have to do is demonstrate how this supports the municipal land use law, the goals of the municipal land use law. And I heard how it's going to make golf operation more efficient. That's not one of the 15 goals that I'm aware of. So could you help us out with that?
Well, it is, and I was going to get to that, the
right.
proofs, the positive, and the negative criteria for the
Okay.
C2 variance. But if you have any more operational questions first before, because that's kind of almost my summary, Mr. Fryer.
I'll wait.
So if there's any, we can give Mr. Turco off.
Based on testimony given at the last meeting we had here, that it was indicated that that building will only be remaining there for 24 months or so.
Correct.
Are you going to be in plans of relocating it or building some other facility, or?
We're hopeful that we're going to see the benefit of the changes that we made with the building.
Because I would probably want to make a condition of approval on this, on the site plan approval, that the building doesn't remain more than 24 months.
What we would ask in that condition, because there is a 24-month lease on the building, but the pro shop, it's dependent on their plans, how things work, and I know they have some other plans that are in the very embryonic stage right now. But we would ask that if there is a limitation, 24 months, that we be permitted, as we get close to the end of that 24 months, if they determine that they might want to keep it there for another year, or they're still weighing their options, that we can come back to the board to modify that condition. But certainly, we wouldn't object to having a limitation put in place.
I can agree with that.
Any bathrooms in this trailer, in this pro shop?
No.
No? So they'll use the main building for
Yeah.
bathroom facilities?
Yep. All of the same facilities that they've been using for the 18 years we've been open, or the
Yeah.
clubhouse has been here since 2007, so,
Okay.
Mr. Bell said it.
yes.
You're not going to sell any golf equipment in the pro shop?
We don't sell much golf equipment at all. You know, most of the stuff that we sell in the pro shop is a shirt with our logo on it, because people might want to take a shirt home on the fly if they don't have their balls or they need like a glove or something. But that's really it. Since I've been running the facility the past 8 years, we used to have golf pros who would load it with clubs and equipment, and it doesn't work. We don't do that anymore. We have very, very little. Couple putters, couple wedges, and if someone wants a full set of clubs, we usually direct them to Dick's or one of the big box stores, because we can't compete with them.
Okay.
But there would, just so we're clear, there would be golf merchandise for sale there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it's
A
not...
very
it's not
small amount.
extensive,
No.
Just what golfers would need for that day.
Correct,
so to speak.
correct.
Further questions? George?
I have one. In terms of identification of the trail, is there was nothing in any of the submissions, and I assume this is the case. You're not intending to put any signage on the trail
No.
or any signs up, anything like that?
No, because it's in a spot where it's pretty obvious when the golfer pulls up. It would be right on the left, and then the clubhouse is right on the right. So it would be a steady flow of people going in and out, so they would know exactly where to go.
And if it is determined down the road that some sort of directional signage or identification is needed, of course, we apply for the
Right.
necessary permit.
Right.
But right now, there's nothing contemplated.
Okay. Before this witness leaves, does the public have any questions of this witness? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for
Please-
acknowledging me.
Please stand up and,
Aisha. I'm Judy Reed. I live at 860 Strikers Road. And
Could you come up to the mic, please?
Well, I wanted to just...
Oh, okay,
point
go
to
ahead,
that.
please.
If this says Del Valle Golf Course that you...
Just a question.
I live there, right there.
Mhm.
Right opposite that development.
Yes.
When I bought our little tiny brick house, there's 4 little brick houses right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the golf course built a very large maintenance shed right there, right behind these 4 homes, which is huge, made of metal, ugly. It's all right, I don't mind, because I'm very happy to live next to a golf course. I was delighted to look out and see the golf course. I was concerned, and the reason I came was that this pro shop would be in that same area, because I would really object a lot. So I do not object to this plan because it's not in my view. However, while I'm here, I do want to mention, I wrote a letter to the golf course 6 months after I moved into our little brick house, asking if they could plant some trees or bushes or put a fence up between the back of my property, which is grass, and the ugly shed, which has 8 giant machines out in the grass. Instead of these big ball collectors and mowers, I don't know what they are, they're ancient, they've been there for a long time. They're never used and they're never moved, they're just out here lying in the grass, and they're never used by the maintenance people. Go in the shed and take out their stuff and they drive around, and that's great. They don't bother me, although they start at 6 o'clock, that's fine. I did object to the view of the ugly machinery lying in the grass, and you know what I mean. The neighbors who lived there prior to my moving there did complain here about this big maintenance shed being so close to their home, because it really is ugly. But I'm still happy. I live near a golf course, and it's better than a development of 89 condos. So I'm really not complaining, because I see that your pro shop is right on the circle.
Right.
And it's a beautiful golf course.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to live on Strikers Road. I just wanted to make sure they're not going to put it in my backyard. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Ma'am, just because you actually did provide some testimony in there, could you just raise your right hand?
Oh, you were...
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you just put forward is the truth?
What I said was foolish but true.
And you did ask some questions in there. I think that there was some questions about screening, possibly, maybe.
Yeah, we can figure something out for her. You know, we're not trying to...
Two lilac bushes right there.
Which house is it?
It's the
What number?
the one that's planted right in front of the shed. It's one over from
Because
you.
there's some trees there, so it's the next one.
You know where those 10 pine trees are in a row on a little hill?
Yeah.
There's a beautiful little pasture between them and me.
Okay.
That's where I don't want you to build it.
Right.
That's where the...
Okay. Yeah, we can figure something out.
Just may I add, I'm sorry. Sure. They take, I like you and I love the golf course.
Thank you.
It's beautifully maintained. The maintenance men, they're very meticulous about keeping the property right up to the back of my property, well maintained, except for those pieces of what they are, nobody knows. Anyway, thank you for listening.
And just to confirm for the record, in the answer to the other question, the proposed structure is not where...
No,
It is not. I
yeah,
just
it's,
came to make sure that wasn't. I didn't see that map.
You should be pleased that there's testimony that someone likes you. It's hard to get into the
we
record.
try, we're not trying to.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Jim.
Put that in the record.
Well, what I wanted to get into.
We really
the record, You always can wheel and deal on variances, and is it your testimony that you make a bona fide effort to address her concerns?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is there any further questions to be asked? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public portion for this.
Thank you.
witness.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes any testimony we're going to put on, but to address Mr. Pryor's question before and really to tie in the proofs for why we believe the board should grant the variance, we are seeking a C2, otherwise known as a flexible C, or a benefits versus burdens variance. These variances can be granted where the purposes of the municipal land use law would be advanced by a deviation from the zoning ordinance, in this case allowing the facility to be 166.9 feet from the roadway instead of 400 feet. And the benefits of that deviation from the zoning ordinance requirements would outweigh any detriment. So breaking that down, we have to meet the positive criteria and the negative criteria. As far as the positive criteria goes, I believe this meets Purpose G under NJSA 40:55D-2, and that purpose is to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses, including recreational and commercial and open space, to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. And what this variance will do, this variance will allow this pro shop to be constructed, and it will allow the golf course to remain viable, which will present again, so Lopatcong not only would have, its industrial along the Strikers corridor, but it would also have the golf course, which, although it's not technically open space, it really acts as open space. You have 170 plus acres of undeveloped land. So again, I think that this does help maintain an appropriate variety of uses within the township. And then, of course, there's Purpose A, which is the catch-all, promotes the general health, safety, and welfare. And you could argue that having, a golf course use, which is a very clean use that presents recreational and also cultural and social opportunities for township and regional residents, that those both advance the positive criteria. And then, as far as the negative criteria goes, granting this variance, I think it's clear the only testimony we've heard from the public has been supportive and positive. It will not cause a substantial detriment to the public good, and it will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. Here, we're looking for a variance to permit a 640 square foot structure, almost 167 feet from the roadway. If this were not deemed to be a clubhouse facility that has to be 400 feet from the roadway, and were instead deemed to be a golfing facility or a maintenance facility, it could be 75 feet from the roadway. So this is more than double the way back from where, a maintenance structure could be, the offending maintenance structure that was complained of this evening. So really, there's, I can't see any detriment to the public or to the zone plan or the zone scheme. It's certainly not substantial, if there is any. So I believe that we have met, we've presented sufficient proofs to justify the grant of this variance. So I thank the board for its consideration and request that you grant the relief that we seek.
One question would be perfectly clear is the fact that this variance would only affect that building.
Correct.
You can't just say that we have a variance and we can bring another trailer in.
No, absolutely. It's just specific to our 32 by 20 pro shop that'll be located precisely where the plans show to be located and nothing else. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Just to clarify one item of Mr. Peck's testimony. I believe the previous, I'm trying to find it here, I have the plan in my file. Of course, it's bound in here, sorry. I got it. The previous plan prepared showed the 166.9 feet to the right-of-way, and I think The second revision that was submitted to the board at the last hearing or meeting was just revised that. I think they more accurately located the property line in relation to Stryker Road. And just to clarify the variance, it's actually 158 feet, plus or minus, shown on the current plan.
It's still more than double.
It's
what it
fine.
could be if you're
Yeah,
a golfer.
not being unsupported, but being an engineer and detail-oriented, just touch.
No, I'm glad, and I'm particularly glad you didn't find it was like 60 feet.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry, one last time. It's how far is the setback?
The current plan is 158 feet from the Stryker's right-of-way.
Thank you.
George?
If the board decides to approve this evening, I would ask that the applicant just provide pictures of it to be incorporated into the approval, so that you have a record of what was put out there. Just pictures of the current.
Okay, we have the ones that were drawn on the computer, but you wanted actual photographs?
Oh, I haven't seen the one.
Okay, I can distribute those.
All I'm saying for the record, just so the town has a record of what the trailer is, it ought to be included. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
And pictures might do 1,000, that would be fine, just pictures of the building.
Well, if you'd like, we can mark these as Exhibit A1. Just take one out. Hands it down. Those are not photographs, but those are sort of renderings of what the building.
Looking at these, I think they're wonderful, but just get yourself a set of pictures included.
We can drop off some
Yeah,
photos.
thank you.
Or at least email.
I stopped and took some photos this evening too before the hearing, so I can distribute those by email as well if anyone would like to see it. Or they can take a ride up there.
Just may still be daylight.
Let me say this more as a statement and as your mayor and my vision for this township. It really has nothing to do with anything that went on here tonight. Obviously, we have to follow the laws and whatnot, and the Turcos have seemed willing to do that. Obviously, the tax situation needs to be straightened out, that's first and foremost. However, in light of buried plastics, in light of the asphalt plant, whether you like it or not, in light of precast waiting to put some things on, in light of St. Luke's occupying the strip mall on Stryker's Road, which actually forced some of those tenants to go across and fill the other strip mall. So the business is starting to build. Ingersoll is going. I'm sure we've all been to the View on Morgan Hill. I know I have, not to mention your competition, but that is a beautiful facility up there where you can go and eat. I think what the Turcos tried to do out there was to obviously gather more money from their golfers by opening this bar. I've been in there. It seems like a nice place for people to gather. You're open until 9:30 during the week, 10:30 on the weekends, which isn't unreasonable for a bar-type facility. But I would like us, despite all this and stuff, to get out there and support this business if we can. For if you need a burger, you want to go to dinner or whatever, just to more promote our township. And that's really that's my focus. Not to allow people just to put up something that obviously we all have to follow the rules. I've seen that thing that they put up out there. I don't know that anybody can see it from their homes, where it's at. So, again, it's more of a speech than it is anything else, but that's my vision, and I'm sure I speak for Mr. Pryor and the rest of the council. That's really what we're trying to promote there. So, it's a beautiful facility. I understand the golfers were probably a little bit sheepish if there was an event going on to go to their bar, so they've kind of captured both. They have plenty of parking out there. It's not it's a manicured open space facility, so follow the rules, pay the taxes, and I'm sure that most of us in this township, again, the corny people helping people community, will get behind you and do what we can for you.
I would like to just make a disclosure in the interest of openness. I was a member at Architects for a number of years, I think initially 5, and then I stopped and I came back for 2 years. I am not a member now. I don't anticipate being a member again, not because I don't enjoy golf, but between my knees and my hip, and unless I make a remarkable recovery someday, I think my golfing days are gone. So I feel I can vote on this without prejudice.
Yeah, you're not currently a member of the board.
No. Nor pending, no.
So we have a separate vote on the variance?
No, you can do it all as one.
All as one?
Yeah.
So we're going to look for a preliminary approval of the site plan?
That's right. Technically, this is an application for amended preliminary and final site plan approval with variance relief for the 158.
Okay.
I like that.
Do we have anything more about the site plan or the checklist that we would have with it?
No, I mean, we listed some recommended conditions of approval, and really it pertained to just having, a final inspection of the site done prior to a CO being issued, and obviously that was conditioned on taxes, which is going to be a condition that the board is going to be imposing, and that, let's see. And that, we recommended, even though the parking is fine, we recommended that there might be the ability to restripe some of those spaces, not to lose as many. So you guys can see if that's a possibility, it might be nice to maintain, as many spaces as you can. And that really was the only.
And we have no objection to
Yeah.
any of the conditions in the Mays or April 17, 2019 letter.
George?
No, I'm comfortable with the application as submitted, and if they include a few pictures just for the record in the application, and with a stipulation that at least as of this submission, there's no signage involved, I'm very comfortable with it.
Do you read that?
Yep, absolutely.
Really. Yeah, I'd like to kind of rest my jump here a little bit. That, just to let you know that I'm very happy you're there. All right, I want you to know that. All right, it's just that, so what we voted no, I voted no on. Okay? I'd like to see you survive, thrive, all right, everything else. So, you know what I mean? I need that to be known out there, not that, you know what I mean? I just want to see what Jim said needs to happen. All right, that's all I'm trying to get at. All right, so. I appreciate it. All right.
Okay, so, lacking any more comments, I'll entertain a motion to grant the variance, C variance, to reduce the setback. Also, I'd like to impose the taxes on that nothing goes forward until we have payment of taxes in full.
Sure.
Do you have
Hopefully,
anything
as
you'd
of
like to
tomorrow,
include?
that's not an issue. I'm told the check's in the mail. So.
Okay, I don't want to go with the next part of that.
Put it in writing.
Okay. And I'd also like to oppose the 24-month proposal with the provision that you can come back and ask for an extension anytime before the board.
Great.
I
Appreciate
just
that.
don't want to see it get away from us of having a trailer sitting out there deteriorating, which they tend to do after a while. So if you're in agreement with that, I would...
Well, the last condition I'd like to see them pose is they would improve the screening as discussed behind the maintenance garage.
Can we? I don't know, can we do that with this one, or?
Well, I think you can wheel and deal on a variance of just about anything, so. We got a commitment, it was testified, lady testified, and I think we got an agreement, so.
I only know of arborvitae, that's the only thing that I can say.
Well, I don't know, she mentioned something, that may not work. I'm looking for a bona fide effort to screen that for her.
They'll go out and take a...
Without imposing it in the...
Yeah. Want to keep the neighbors happy.
Can you get together with her and see if you can remove the rusted equipment?
I'll knock on her door and talk to her
Okay,
about
see
it.
what if it's not unreasonable, work it out.
And to mimic what Joe said, the payment of any fees, including permits for the putting up the building and stuff.
Okay, I thought we had included that in, so. That's it. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Beth, roll call, please.
Yes. Okay, members Clymer?
Yes.
Coyle?
Yes.
DeVos?
Yes.
Pryor?
Yes.
Weeks?
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fishback?
Yes.
Chairman Van Vliet?
Yes,
Member Liptak?
Thank you very much, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good evening.
Oh, did you?
Is there any public comment on anything else before the planning board? Okay. I'd like to ask the question to the board members, has everybody submitted their financial statement to the DCA?
The whole town is complete for the first time.
You want to get that $100 fine.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure,
Make that statement.
because, later on it becomes a $200 fine, and
Yeah, keeps on
so
going.
it keeps on going.
Yeah.
All right.
And just for the new members, just the education requirements, if anybody needs any type of direction as to that, just feel free to see me. Not that I have any type of really great insight, because they're so rarely offered by the state, and usually I have to go down to New Brunswick, but there are some certain programs that I can direct you to, so.
Dr., have you taken that course?
I have not taken, but I mean,
Yeah, he's gonna take it in January.
Okay, that's fine, okay, just so long as you're aware of it.
Just to add one additional thing, I guess we're talking about courses. There's also a requirement for the New Jersey DEP requires that board members, planning board and zoning board of adjustment members, new members, watch the presentation that we gave last year, Beth. So I can send the information to Beth and she can distribute it via email to everyone. And we can create some kind of affidavit or something that new members can sign off and give it to Jim, that you officially watched it and the town could be compliant with their stormwater permit with the state as well. So I'll distribute that via email.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I did have one question, Mr. Chairman. It's for George. If I recall correctly, you had a meeting coming with the Highlands subsequent to our last meeting?
yes.
Could you brief us real quick?
Yes. Basically, the Highlands, in reviewing the map that we sent back to them, came back and said that we exceeded basically the groundwater standards. In other words, that we had to put more properties back in to the critical groundwater recharge area to comply with their 40% infiltration rates. And their area that they specifically focused on was the town park area up by the school, which just happens to be, based on their model, a high infiltration area. Between the Highlands and Paul, I think we've worked out a solution to that in terms of what properties are in and what are out, that still allows the town to have the park available, not the whole park, but the park available, the usable portions. They were going to put that back in their model and let us know. We're still waiting. I haven't heard back whether they finally said the map is finished or not. Also, what we're doing right now is preparing the amendment to the master plan in order to adopt the map. That's the written section. It's not that long, it's 5 or 6 pages. But as soon as we get the map, I'll submit it up for the board for you to look at and start to think about, because in there is the implementing language for changes in the stormwater regulations in town, which will eventually have to be adopted by council in terms of those changes. So we're working on it, but we do not have an approved map back from the Highlands yet.
Thank you, George.
In conjunction with that, George, I received a copy of an email from the Highlands indicating that there was additional grant money available for that purpose.
Yes, we did a request for a grant.
Okay.
It is our impression that it will be approved and that these studies associated with this mapping is going to be covered in a grant by the Highlands. We haven't gotten any official word back, but we did submit a budget. They've indicated it was acceptable. Obviously, they have to run it through their end, but I think we're on our way to basically that the town will not have to pay for this exercise.
Very good, thank you. Anything else for the good of the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
You know what?